Thoroughbreds. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 381 of Picks and Ponies right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your very proud host, Howard Kravitz. A very early happy Thanksgiving and happy early holidays, as it definitely feels like the holidays here in Chicago as we got our first snow. Blah. I hate it. First snow of the year. It was cold. It was windy. Got to put the sticks away. Not really happy about that. Golf season's over. Anyway, but thanks for joining. Greatly appreciate. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Hit that notification bell at the top right and smash that like button below the video player. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Very high quality tip sheet. Look below the video player if you're interested in our Power Picks tip sheet given out every Saturdays. The ROI still outstanding. Almost 4 years. Crazy. Of Power Picks tip sheets. We give spot plays, price plays, grids, all good stuff. Please check it out below the video player. We would greatly appreciate your support. All of that money and revenue goes right back in to the podcast to help us pay for many things. So we'd appreciate if you helped us out with the Power Picks tip sheet, and you can help yourself out because you're going to cash and make some money. We also have a great website, hhhracingpodcast.com. And also I want to mention, as you can see my hat here, we are proudly sponsored by the Adelphi Racing Club. Racing manager Matt Cuterre. The website, adelphiracing.com, one word. And his email for Matt Cuterre is matt@adelphi.com. I've got some Adelphi runners that I have some pieces of that are in training and going to be starting their career soon and coming back and running, and a lot of exciting stuff going on with Adelphi. But I have some other things I want to promote, but we're going to wait for that until the middle of the show. So without further ado, let me bring on from the East Coast of Maryland back with us tonight, Mr. Pete Visco, and from the Saratoga Special and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mr. Paul Halloran. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Paul, what's up, my friend?
Hey, Pete, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic, thank you.
Wonderful, guys. I got a quick list of things. Pete, I heard you had a wicked good time on Monday night. Why don't you tell everyone you missed us, but for good reasons? Why don't you give us a little sneak preview and tell us what you did Monday night?
Hey, we can. There you go.
There we go.
Oh, I like that.
Yes, my son Jackson and I went to an early screening of the movie Wicked, and it was phenomenal. So anyone in the chat who is a fan of the show or is not a fan of the show, go see it. It was fantastic.
Living up to the hype, Pete?
Tomorrow. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I loved it. It was
okay.
2 hours of 40 minutes of an
Whoa.
emotional roller coaster. Yes, it was long though. So pee first. Make sure you go. That's why I was telling Kyle on X. I said, don't drink any beers first if you go. Make sure you go to the bathroom right before. It's long.
Paul Conlon, the HHH All-Star team tonight. Appreciate that. Paul, how you doing? We got Terry Frank is here. What's up, Terry? Of course, Katie is here. What else? Well, the usual. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot more people joining us. You know, Pete, I was wondering real quick, how many movies you and Jackson must have seen together? And I bring it up, actually, I don't mean to put a downer on to the night, but November's a bit of a tough month for me. Both my parents passed away in this month, not this year, but it's been quite a while now. But anyway, so I get to think of my parents a little bit on in November, and I think it's cool that you get to bond with, everyone's got a bonding thing they do, right, with their parents, moms, dads, whatever. How many movies do you think you've seen with your son Jackson? Like,
it's
ever?
funny. It's funny you say
hundreds, right? It's gotta be hundreds,
Ever's
right?
a tough one. Yeah, hundreds, because we were doing a ranking of this year's movies so far. So I was going through, and I think we had seen at least 30 something in the theater this year. So
okay.
And then whatever we watch at home, some of them you don't make in the theater, so we on demand or something. But yeah, plenty. That's our thing.
I'm talking about the theater. I mean, 52 weeks a year. You don't see a movie every week, but I'd say a lot. Maybe 40.
Close. Yeah, you go through a lull.
I mean, how many times have you been going to movies with? I mean, at least 100 movies you've seen in the theater with your son. Right?
Oh, at least, cool. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
expensive, but awesome. We spent quite a penny on Monday night because we wound up buying. We bought hats. They weren't even Wicked stuff. It was just crap that they had on the in the concession line. So we wound up spending a bunch of money, but that's what we do best. So
there you go.
why not?
Why not? Two other quick things before we get started into the Churchill late pick 5. That's why we're here tonight. Churchill Saturday late pick 5, 2 grade 3s, some really nice allowance races. Speaking of Churchill, there's a horse named Barnes, ladies and gentlemen, that is trained by Mr. Bob Baffert, named after his assistant, Jimmy Barnes. And this 2-year-old is debuting next Wednesday, as we're filming here Thursday night, the 21st. Next Wednesday, Bob Baffert's first runner at Churchill Downs since 2021. This one has been working lights out. He's actually been working with a horse named Madacat Road, who debuted in the Bob Hope and lost to Bullard, but ran very well. Paul, it shouldn't be a coincidence that a multi-million-dollar Kentucky Derby prospect is debuting not in California, but actually at Churchill. I think Bob is trying to send a message, Paul.
It is interesting. I don't know what's out there, but I'm sure Delmar has some maiden races that the horse could have run in. So,
For sure.
Well, I think it's just Bob wanting to give his friends in Louisville a Thanksgiving gift. That's all.
Ted, he's just a thoughtful lad, isn't he? And then tomorrow, Friday, Gulfstream Park's got big late pick 5, a carryover, and a horse named White Abario is coming back in the hands of Safi now. So anyway, we'll talk about a few other things as the show goes along. Just want to mention.
How's the field? Did anybody look? I didn't even look. Is there anybody in there?
The White Abario field?
Yeah.
Very small and written for him, Pete.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I think it's a 5-horse. It's a 5-horse field. There's a horse named Mish, who you might have heard of as a decent allowance horse, but White Abario is going to be 2 to 5, and I haven't looked at the race carefully, but I'm assuming he's going to win. So
from there to the Pegasus, is that their plan?
I don't know, but that would seem no. I would say one more race. I would assume maybe they'll run a mile stake. They've got some nice mile stake races out of the chute in let's see, December. It's the weekend before Christmas. They have a pretty big card at Gulfstream, Paul, which is like the Pegasus preview day. I'm assuming he'll run there, and then if he's feeling good, Pegasus.
I hope he comes back and runs well.
Yeah.
I like that horse. I hope he runs well.
I got no problem with White Abario. He's a nice, honest sort. All right, guys, let's get into the late pick 5 at Churchill. We got a bunch of other things that we need to talk about as well that we'll talk about throughout the show. Thanks very much for watching. Greatly appreciate it. Here we go, guys. Late pick 5 at Churchill Downs on Saturday. By the way, it snowed there today in Kentucky. A lot of cold came through the Midwest. It's going to be clear Saturday. I'm assuming they'll be on the turf. The turf's held up well. Here's the first race, guys, on Saturday, late pick 5, race 7, maiden special weights. There's a horse we got to talk about, guys. $120,000 purse for the babies, 6.5 furlongs. You see the field. The favorite is the number 7, C Vista. Let me take off the banner there. C Vista for Mr. Cox and Florent Giroux. And there is our picks on the bottom of the screen. I'm going 10-7-4. And Pete and Paul are both going with the 7. Paul's going 7-2-4. Pete's going 7-10-2. Let's talk about the 7, Paul. Your top choice, Pete's top choice, I'm assuming will be the favorite, C Vista.
Well, I got to tell you, Howard, he really was way back last time. He didn't break horribly, but he was just outrun so badly early. He didn't get underway until going around the turn, and he was very wide in the turn. But boy, Cox, I looked up Cox's numbers. 2-year-old, second time starters in maiden dirt sprints. He's 33%. And Pete, that's a sample of 203.
Unbelievable.
66. That's an incredible number with that size sample. And if
Paul, I had one you like. Oh, go ahead. You go first. I have one you'll like.
Well, I was just going to say, if you take that same stat and add 2-year-olds, it remains at 33%, and the sample is still in the hundreds.
That's crazy, man. I had one. I don't remember what the number, but he was 36% second-time starters with Godolphin horses, which not surprised, but that's still just a huge number.
Yeah, and like you said, Paul, he's the 7 here, Paul, and he just got outrun. I mean, there's no trouble.
He got outrun. Yeah,
And
it was. Yep.
the winner here, number 5, Uncaged, is a nice runner for Pletcher that some people feel has Derby potential. Here's C Vista. There's really not much to watch. He did make a late close. I will say 2 things. Number 1, this horse on his outside made him a little bit uncomfortable. I think you see there was bumping twice. The only negative I have is this race completely fell apart, and the closers are the ones that did well. Again, C Vista's right here, but clearly he's one of the horses to beat in this race.
Yeah, I mean, again, is he going to need more distance than 6.5 furlongs? He'll get that long Churchill stretch. Interesting that he's been working and stabled at Turfway, not at Churchill with Brad's. But again, this next train's at Turfway. So,
what do you make of that, Paul? I found that a little bit odd. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you really can get in trouble trying to read too much into it. I don't know what Brad's situation is if he's full up of stalls at Churchill. I mean, Churchill really is his base. So, I don't really know, but I just think that this horse will move forward off that race, and he has had five works, I believe. 5 works since then. You got to think Giroux will try to get him in the race earlier, and if he gets some pace, he could be formidable. I don't love him, but I do think those clock stats with second timers are really formidable.
Those works, he looks faster too. Like those works are fast for a horse that you anticipate might be a little bit more of an off the pace kind of horse. Like maybe it just shows he does have a potential for a little bit of speed.
Yeah, they have to be. Yeah, they have to be thinking of him running a little bit early because, like Howard said,
right?
it wasn't a case of him breaking behind the field or getting in trouble last time. It's just from 3 strides out for the first furlong and a half, he was just outrun.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I almost picked Howard. Plus, we got some intel on the other night.
We did. We'll talk about that one in just a minute. I showed that last race, guys. The horses that were 4th, 5th, and 6th at the half mile pole finished 1, 2, 3. Again, something to think about, but we'll see. Pete, you're on with the 7. Also, not much to add. You want to talk about my top choice here, the number 10 Mo Quality for Chris Davis, who. I mean, I always, when I mention him, I always say he's underrated. I don't know why people just don't pay attention to this guy. He's very good. Maybe because he hasn't won like a lot of great stakes, but especially with younger horses, he's really good. I think he's the one. No, that was Whit Beckman, the 11 that I had over the last weekend at 30 to 1 and a pick 5. No, but anyway, Chris Davis is really good. This is the other logical closer in the race. I'll tell you why I like him maybe a little more than the 7, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, he's actually a little bit similar in the sense that, and maybe not exactly the same, but at least he was just too far back and he didn't break well and he was sort of stuck in the back. There was, luckily for him, there was a decent amount of pace up front, and you'll show it here. But
he's the 6, and he's again similar, like you just said, no trouble, just very long striding and just outrun early.
Yeah, and that happens. And the horse that won the race was I think 3 to 5 or somewhere around there. So it wasn't like lost to an unquality horse. So lost to no pun intended, since this is low quality. But that was just a pretty good horse. This one was just a little too far back. And you hope, like wide anything, picks up Gaffleon, who until that video, when was that? I don't know if that was today when he sort of, was futzing around on the lead and got run down. But, Gaffleon is always pretty good here. So that driver change is probably a good thing. But another one you just hope can get into it a little bit sooner and not have to close from that far back, especially because he's in the 10 hole. It's a really big field, so you don't want him just being in the back lollygagging and trying to run down somebody who's going to get the jump on him again.
It sort of felt like, I don't want to say they didn't try with him early, Pete, but they just let him gather, and they really didn't ask until the turn there when he went very wide. And unlike the other race that we just saw with C Vista, notice here, the horses that finished 1st, 3rd, and 4th were coincidentally not in this order, 1st, 3rd, and 4th at the quarter, at the first quarter pole. Mo Quality is the only horse that really made up any ground at all. You can see Mo Quality was 11th
Yeah.
here and finished second. I do pay attention to that. I do think that is important.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, anytime, and again, there was a little bit of pace, so that helped, but he was the only one. And you just
Yeah.
assume there's going to be, it looks like there's just talent there. Chris Davis, you were talking about, he's won 3 out of 4 second-time starts at Churchill, for what that means. A very small sample size, but it was still something. But I just is a very good horse. Again, you hope the post doesn't cause another trip where he's just sort of out wide and a little too far in the back and just has too much to do. And maybe eventually when he stretches out, he'll have a little more room to run into.
I have a lot of stats tonight, Pete, because I try to,
Love it.
live up to you. I mean, who doesn't, You guys mentioned the Cox stat. Chris Davis, 16%. Nothing wrong with that. Second time last 5 years. He's only had Gaffleone on his horses 5 times last 5 years. However, he is 2 for 5. Chris Davis, Tyler Gaffleone, 2 for 5. Obviously, extremely small sample size, but worth mentioning. Let's talk about the 2. And Paul, I think you'll find this very apropos. I have a little video that I want to show. I bet you know what it's going to be about from Monday night. Yinzer, who I don't have anywhere. You guys have third. This is a $1 million by Asmussen, West Point. I'm proud to be a official partner with them since the summer. Rehearsed on the dam side, tap it, twirling candy. This horse can run all day. 6.5 first time out. Might need one, Paul.
Yeah, he might. Although Twirling Candy is 17% with his 2-year-old first-time starters. He has this horse has one sibling that did win on debut, and Asmussen with 2-year-old first-time starters in dirt sprints is 16%. So I won't be shocked when he wins. I agree with you. He may need one. The workouts typically don't tell much of a story with Steve Asmussen. He's very consistent. He really doesn't ask his horses for much in the morning. But they didn't pay $1 million for the horse because they feel he can't run.
I also don't think they paid $1 million for him to win a sprint either. So, but yeah. Very point well taken, Pete. Let me catch you up since you missed the show Monday. Oh, I'm sure the minute you got home, you watched the replay. But
of course,
we had Jason Blewett on from West Point Thoroughbreds, one of the executive VPs at West Point, friend of mine, friend of the show, to talk about Bullard, who's an exciting runner. But he also, I said, do you have anything going on in the barn or anything interesting we should know about? And guess who he brought up? Well, let's take a look, everyone, of what Jason Blewett, VP of West Point Thoroughbreds, talks about Yinzer running this Saturday. They're very excited about him. This is about a 45-second clip. Let's hear from Jason Blewett right now, if I can bring it up. And here we go with sound.
We are running, and I'll wrap up. I know you guys got other stuff to talk about. We are running a twirling candy firster this Saturday at Churchill named Yinzer. $1 million Saratoga yearling purchase that Asmussen trains. And Steve, we had a stop on him a little bit over the summer. He was with Steve in the spring. Asmussen and his team loved him and had some minor 2-year-old baby stuff, but he's back. I expect a good race out of him. And I think even if he gets beat, because the race is 6.5, and I do think he's going to want a little more ground, I think he's a horse worth keeping an eye on. So
that just feels to me like they might need one. I mean, who knows? We don't know. I'm not sure that even the connections know for sure. I got a feeling they'll run him. He'll close like a train for like a good third or something, Pete, and then win next time out at, a mile or maybe even 2 turns. We'll see.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I have a poo-poo stat for Yinzer.
All right, throw it.
Asmussen, 0 for 21 first-time starters at Churchill in the past 5 months or so.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So maybe that's what you're talking about here. Doesn't get the win, runs well, and you come back and bet second time out.
Yeah. We'll see what happens, guys, in the opening leg of the pick 5. Let's go on to race 8. It's the Chiluki. I remember that horse. Really nice, fast filly. This is a grade 3, race 8, about 425 Eastern. Interesting field here of 8. My favorite is a very fast 3-year-old filly named Too Sharp for Phil Bauer and Junior Alvarado. 2-1 morning line, guys. Stretching out, though, has never been a mile. So will myself, Pete, and Paul take a horse who is trying to do something they've never done before, the old Harvey Pack thing, and will be the favorite. I ain't afraid. I'm going 4-6-2. Paul likes this horse also, 4-2-8. Pete is going to throw a little poo-poo at the favorite. Pete's going 2-4-8 in the Chuluki. Pete's going to go with Pigali. Oh, no wonder why. Italian name, of course. Tom Drury and Machado. What do you like about her 9-2 in this mile dirt race, grade 3, Pete?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to it, but obviously Too Sharp looks tough if the distance is no issue. But I did have some poo-poo stats on Too Sharp that we'll get to when we talk about her. But
all right.
This was a race I didn't love, and I didn't have a super strong opinion. So I figured, you know what? I don't love the favorite. I'm going to go with some of the other horses. And I thought Pigali, the one thing I liked was there's a little versatility there. So obviously isn't going to be as fast as a horse like Too Sharp, but she's shown that she can sit off. She can close from a little bit further back. She's won on the lead. She can sit a little bit closer. So I at least there where I know if Too Sharp goes and the distance is a little too tough for her, then I think Pigali can actually come from behind, has shown can pass horses. That's enough for me if I'm just looking for a horse that can do something. To cut back a little bit, getting back to a mile where she's 5 out of 7, 6 out of 7 in the top 2. She's got a couple wins over the Churchill track, which I like. Lifetime, the time form figures. So the buyer figures are a little, up and down. But if you look at the time form, which I know you and I like to contrast them a bit, they've gotten incrementally better in the last few. So she's starting to hit top after top from a time form standpoint. So even though she's run 11 times, she still seems to be on the improve. So she's just a pretty honest horse that always runs a pretty good race. And whether she's talented enough to beat the 4, if the 4 gets the distance, she's probably just better. But, you got to try and take a stand sometimes.
Paul, Too Sharp is exactly that. And, this is the kind of horse I usually try to beat, to be very honest. I've seen her in person. I love the fact last time she was able to rate just a little bit off. I don't think she's going to rate here. I mean, if someone wants to go, I'm sure Junior's not going to get into a crazy slugfest. But I really don't see anyone that can go with this filly early if Too Sharp breaks well. She's bred to certainly go the distance. I think this is just a great spotting by Phil Bauer here to sort of start her, get her going in another grade 3 and then build her up to maybe 2-turn races as she turns 4. The rest of the field to me just sort of meh. I just felt like if it's not Too Sharp, Paul, it could be 4 or 5 others. And I don't want to say I defaulted to Too Sharp, but I got to be honest, she's just too damn sharp for this field, in my opinion.
Yeah, I took a long look at Pete's horse, the 2, whom I picked second, and the horse for course angle, and obviously the distance, this mile here is good. Bauer going sprint to route on dirt in stakes races, small sample, but 3 for 9, 33%. Interesting that he adds blinkers off of.
I found that interesting too. 4
really good races. It is a 17% move for him, putting blinkers on for the first time. And, this horse ran second here at Churchill in June in her maiden. And then 2 convincing wins and, lost to Brightwork, who absolutely loves Saratoga. So, But I should also mention, Howard, do you think anyone else in the chat or on the show saw Chuluki run in person? The 1999 Sorrento at Del Mar.
Nice.
Wow.
That's a great poll.
Wow, that is
11 for 17 lifetime. She did. Well, 11 for 17 lifetime, $1.2 million earner. Ran second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies that year. August 7th, 99, Howard. I was there.
More important, Paul, did you have a winning ticket on her? That was the
I did have her, and there was nothing to be had because it was a Baffert. But anyway, just try to add some color into the show by saying that I'm old.
Well, Paul, she cost $925. I mean, I'm sure they wanted to go long at some point. I think this is a good spot to do it. But you know that she gets the distance, she can get beat. Now there are other options. The 2.
I want to mention a few stats real quick on the 4 before
please do,
on.
and then I'll talk about it. Possible price play here.
Yeah. All Phil Bauer stats. 1 for 19. So Paul talked about this, but with 3-year-olds and up going sprinter route at Churchill, 1 for 19. 1 for 18, switching off Lasix integrated stakes race. Now, again, this isn't the best field in the world, so I don't know if you can look at that with a grain of salt. And 0 for 8, first-time blinkers at Churchill. So, again, only looking for stuff where if you're going to get a big favorite, which wouldn't shock me if this horse is pretty odds on, then
there's just 2 to 1.
There's 2 to 1 is a pipe dream, right? So
7 to 5.
Anytime you're looking to find some chinks in the armor of a big favorite.
Guys, I think horse racing is very situational. We've talked about it on the show. It's something I've trying to improve on in my handicapping over the years, and I feel like it's one of my strengths. Positano Sunset, the number 6, who's 10 to 1. I was against last time. In fact, anyone that signs up for our Power Pick tip sheet, that day on October 25th was a day you guys received the email too. I sent out an email after the fact, not after the races, before the races started, but after the tip sheet went out because there are a bunch of scratches and some other things. And I actually was trying to beat this horse. I just don't think Positano Sunset wanted 2 turns. She ran perfectly fine, but she did get run down at 85 cents to the dollar. This is the kind of situation, guys, where I'm on board now. People are against her. Oh, she should have won last time. I don't think she's a 2-turn horse. I'm not overly concerned about, the mile. Maybe she's better going 7. Who, other than Too Sharp, who are you really afraid of in this race? And guys, she's faced the toughest horses by far in this field. I mean, take a look at who Positano Sunset has faced this year. I mean, it's a who's who of filly mare sprinters. You got Zeitlo, Society, Scylla, Vava. Clearly Unhinged is a nice horse. I mean, Darth Vader was good at that time. So, look, I don't know if she can beat Too Sharp. I'm not sure she can. But if Too Sharp for some reason does not win, I think Positano Sunset is interesting, and people are now off her guys a little bit because of the last race, which I like. So I'm very interested in Positano Sunset. Definitely underneath, maybe not so much on the win, but you'll see my my plays of the day later. I like this horse, guys, at least underneath at a bit of a price.
She was next up for me, almost cracked the top 3.
For 4.
So I kind of liked it. Leperoux's kind of ice cold. I didn't love that a little bit, but again,
standing headline. That's a standing headline.
Yeah, I didn't.
But he rides this horse all the time, so
he does. He does, and that's part of the probably maybe the reason why she always runs a decent race, but she has a hard time just getting that win, which kind of sucks. But if you're talking underneath the double digits, why the hell not?
Why not? Jackson Muniz is here. But the 12, I think that's in the previous race.
That was in the last race.
Yeah, the Eagle,
so
the
what's up,
Jackson? Eagle horse.
What's up, TC Markham in the chat? Cool bomb, Angle, Leproux is cold. I mean, she won't be a bomb. But again, I'm not concerned. Fine. Look, I hope everything's Leproux can't ride anymore, and they won't. That's fine. All I know is he's done well with this horse. That's all. I mean, look, guys, he's just not getting the mounts he used to get. You could argue how talented he is now, and that's a separate conversation. But it's not like he's getting first call for big time trainers anymore, right? So I mean, he's in the twilight of his career. So all right, guys, let's move on to race 9, the next race of the sequence. This is a nice allowance race. I thought this race was. I thought some weird stuff can happen here, guys. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Allowance 6 furlongs, $127,000. This is for the boys, 3-year-olds and up, N2X. It's a field of 11. Morning line favorite is the number 3, Attaché. Love that word. Attaché, Chris Hartman, Corrales, 3 to 1. Like I said, let's see where we're going in what I thought was the toughest race actually of this pick 5. I'm going a little bit off the radar until I saw Paul's picks, and I was so happy when I saw that Paul liked my horse too. I'm going 5-3-11. Paul's going 11-5-9, and Pete is going 4-3-9. Let's talk about the 11 first. Agoo for Beckman and Santana. Paul, I thought ran very, very well last time, and I would recommend the connections of Agoo try to rate a little bit in this race if they can, because boy, there is a lot of early speed signed on.
Yeah, Howard, I thought that was the challenge of this race. I'm fairly confident that it's going to be one from behind. The question is how far behind. The 11 is not tremendous, but we do have this long stretch at Churchill with Beckman is very hot, 27%. I think if Santana can get this horse in a decent position early, mid-pack to top 4 maybe, I think he'd have a chance to get first run in the stretch. But I do agree with you, Howard. I think there's a lot of ways you can go. And I know you're going to talk about the 5. That was actually one of the reasons I also included the 5, is that I think there's a chance that this race not only could be won from behind, but maybe maybe significantly behind. And I think in this field, the 5 is going to be running late. But yeah, I think the 11 might be in position to get first run.
World Record's a nice horse, guys. World Record. By the way, the Dam, is that the horse? I'm trying to think because I got a little info. Hold on, I want to make sure World Record's the horse I think. Yeah, see the
the
Dam?
horse that won at Saratoga, big time.
The
right?
Dam Marwa, it was the dam of a horse named Salivo Spritz, who I used to co-own with Adelphi, who actually was not very good, but same dam. And so we got a little broodmare money there from because the Marwa is actually, the dam is turning out to be an okay sire. Just not, of course, on the one that I had partial ownership of. Agu ran well last time, lost a world record. I've got that horse third. Pete, you don't have that one in the mix. Pete, you're going to go with the 4 in this race. Let me get to it right now. And the 4 is Colorado Cruiser. I'll tell you what, Pete, I got to give you some props. I took a real hard look at this horse, but I don't want to steal your thunder. What do you like about Colorado Cruiser to upset the field? 10-1, Mr. O'Neill and Bejarano.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't really love the horse on top. I was looking more as an underneath, but then I was like, you know what? I don't love this field, so I'll take the shot with the horse on top. But I do, as we'll get to our best bets, I have this one in more of an underneath kind of play. I just thought I was taking a flyer because I think this one had some talent. I mean, if you look back at 2, as you can see on the screen, I mean, lost to some pretty good horses. Obviously got blown out by Nisos, but was in a decent race there. Coach Prime was all right. Then wins the maiden special. Finally breaks the maiden. Goes to Sisterson, and then is just terrible and doesn't really do much in the swale. So I'm thinking, hey, we're getting out of that company a bit. Maybe let's cut back a little bit. We're also going to O'Neill, and the horse has just been working really well. So my thought is maybe the horse is just capturing back some of what showed a little bit of talent, a little bit of precocity back last year. I had some things. Doug O'Neill, 0 for 22 wins, but 11 for 22 in the money. First after a trainer switch in non-California circuits. Because a lot of times I think of him like he's a lot more when he goes on the road. He's not always successful, but he's done well here, and the work seemed to show that maybe he's having a positive effect on this horse. He's got some speed. So he's going to be out there. I don't know if I want him in front. Oh, there we go, right on the screen.
Hey, Pete, look what I got for you. Would you like to see one of his works?
Lovely. I would love it.
I want to ask you a question, both of you, especially Paul, because you and I are at the track a little more than probably Pete, like actually seeing the horses run, etc. They call this breezing. I don't think this is breezing. To me, this is more handily. I'd love to hear your opinion, Paul. But this is Colorado Cruiser. Not too long ago, guys, at Keeneland. You see the jock asked for the stick there. Did you see that? And does it again. Is this more handily, or would you say this is a breeze in your professional opinion, Paul?
Yeah, I would think it's something in between, Howard. I hear what you're saying.
See the
I
stick
think
there. He just asked him. I mean,
yeah, he just gave him a little love tap right there, just to, that sometimes is just about keeping him focused, as it is. It isn't necessarily about trying to get him to go faster. Just kind of, yeah. So, yeah, I'll tell you what, Pete, I think this horse is a classic example of, how you look for value in this game. Because I think you would agree with me that you may not want, well, I don't want to speak for you, but I would want no part of this horse at 4 or 5-1.
No.
But at 10-1, it's the type of horse after the race you go, how did that Doug O'Neill horse pay $23.80?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's a really good value play.
And I mean, your Adam Blinkers again. The horse showed more speed last year, didn't last out, and then putting Lasix on for the first time. So again, if all of those just move the horse up a bit, again, this isn't the best of fields. Maybe we could catch something. And again, even if it's just it's a field where I think if you can pick the right horses around, I think you can come up with maybe a nice triple, something like that, an underneath.
All right, now I'm
I
gonna
was-
reverse roles, Pete. First of all, I love the pick. I love the creativity. I've got this horse as a B. Now I'm gonna throw poo-poo at you, my friend.
Oh, poo poo.
I would have
I
had this
love it.
horse. I would have had this horse as an A, except for a few things. This is a speed horse, and there's a lot of speed in this race. Number one. Number two, I have a similar stat, and I broke it down between 270 days and 400 days. So I sort of split the year thing. 1 for 14 off that kind of layoff with a new acquisition anywhere last
Gotcha.
5 years. So it's just not great off the layoff. And I like the speed situation in this race. I think you might need one. And then I watched that work, and it didn't seem like it was breezing to me. So anyway, you could call it nitpicking, but that's what we got to do in this game.
You
Look,
have
he
to.
faced Nisos, Tejon Pass, Coach Prime. He was facing serious animals a year ago in California. So
Yeah, good
he's
horses were
interesting,
coming
Pete.
out of
I
there.
like the
Yeah,
pick.
it's a good one.
I'm not sure I love the spot, but I do like the horse. And I
Yeah.
think that's interesting.
And I'm with Paul though. Double digits and up. I mean, double digits for sure.
Well, I want the same kind of situation. Paul, I know how you feel about Risk It. You've got him second. You obviously like him. This is a complete in Steve I trust situation. Flavian's jumping on. By the way, do you guys know where Flavian's riding? I honestly don't know. Like the next few months, I don't know. I'm assuming it's not Kentucky. It's not Turfway. I don't know where
I
he's
would
going.
say
Do you guys know?
it's.
Do you have any
it's-
intel on that? I don't know.
I would think it's New York and then Gulfstream would be my guess.
Is he? I thought maybe he was going back to. I don't know. I'd have to find out.
I don't
Anyway.
think so.
Okay.
I think
Anyway.
he's moved his family to the East Coast.
Okay. I like Pratt on this horse. I think this horse has talent, Paul. He faced good horses, earlier this year and in the winter a year ago. I mean, they were seriously thinking Derby with this horse. Obviously, He's in the Gun Runner, right? He's a Gun Runner. He's in the Gun Runner Stakes as sired by Gun Runner. Cost $500,000. He just didn't really pan out in the spring. I don't know why. Maybe he didn't like Oaklawn. He was involved in a lot of slow-paced races. I don't know. My feeling here, Paul, and it's a guess, is they're going to take back, make a run. I'm hoping he's improved. I like Pratt. I like a price. It's a wide open race. It's a bit of a guess, Paul, but why not in this kind of race? That's so. I think this horse is interesting. If he can run, I think he might show it here at 8-1.
Yeah, well, as I say, I picked him second. I almost picked him on top. So I'm with you. I like the fact that you also like him, and I agree with you that this horse was the real deal. Lost to Pete. You were in on Anna Marie 8 or 9 times in a row, weren't you?
Yeah.
Wasn't that one of your Petco pets?
With a lot of losses. Yeah, a lot of those losses were on Anna Marie. I didn't catch the wins enough. I wanted to like that horse. I wanted to see a little bit more in those last 3. That's what sort of
I agree.
I couldn't. It was hard. It was hard to get around those.
I just want to. We're going to move on, guys. Attaché is the horse to beat, though. Let's just mention the number 3, 93.90 buyer. I have nothing negative against this horse. I just want to do something a little bit creative and sneaky. But
Horse is also entered on Sunday, Howard, in the starter allowance.
Oh, you're right. Interesting. I see that right now. Well, if this horse comes out, that changes a lot of things to me. I don't think it changes the pace, though. But that does open up the field a little more to some possibilities. So we shall see. Guys, now is the perfect time to do 2 quick promotions before we go on to the last 2 races. So let's do that right now. The 2 quick things I want to say is, let me take off the banner. Hold on a second. Sorry. Yes. That's one way of doing it. Hold on a second, guys. Where the heck is there we go. I want to take that off. We changed our name. I changed the name. There's no reason to go at H Kravitz anymore. I don't need to see my name on the username. I never did it to put my name up there anyway. I just started the show that way and just figured it's just very nondescript. And look, I like my last name, but it's time to make a change. So we are now at, not very creative, but useful, at HHH Racing Pod. One word, of course, at HHH Racing Pod. If you're already on X, you don't need to resubscribe or anything. You're still in there. But guys, I changed our business cards, and Pete, we got to do a few things behind the scenes, make sure everyone knows that we changed it. But anyway, we are now at HHH Racing Pod. I still own the account. The opinions, as I said when I announced it, are solely mine and not necessarily of my fellow hosts and co-hosts on the show. The other thing, guys, Monday night, this is big. Monday night, horsing around, 7:30 Eastern. Pete, hope you can be there. Paul, hope you can be there.
We'll be there.
It's the big reveal. It is the HHH Racing Podcast 2025 Kentucky Derby Future Bet Reveal. We're also going to talk about some other contenders. The bet has already been made. You can ask any questions you want in the chat tonight. I am not going to answer them. We are not going to say who it is. There have been some circumstances that have changed since last year that we talked about on the show Monday night, Pete, as you know, in terms of how much money we were able to get down on the bet, et cetera, et cetera. But I am still excited about this horse, and we're going to talk about this horse on Monday night. It is, of course, the Sierra Leone Revenge Tour is what I'm calling it.
Yinzer? Is it Yinzer? Is it?
Well, we got some intel. We got some insight on it. But who knows?
That should be the second one now. Maybe that's the second one. Yeah.
All right. That's it, guys. Let's go on to race 10, the penultimate leg, of the pick 5. This is the Commonwealth. We'll assume it's going to be on turf. I also assume that because there's no AEs or MTOs. So I'm sure it'll be on turf. It might be a little on the soft side, though, because it is cold in Kentucky, and they did get a little bit of snow, too. So interesting. Field of 9. Moorline favors the number 3, Dash Man. Lynch and Saez, an up-and-coming 3-year-old. Of course, these are all 3-year-olds going a mile and 16th. Nice purse, by the way. $300,000. A lot of horses here we've seen run throughout the year. Some of them I am fans of. Some of them I am not, with some fresh faces. Also, let's go to the picks on the bottom of the screen once I can get that up. There we go. I'm going 8-3-9. Paul's going 1-8-3. Pete's going 9-3-11. Pete, let's go to you first. You're going to go Evade, a French bred, Maker, and Gaffleon.
9-3-11. That's not right, by the way. I knew that didn't seem right because
right?
my top choice is not.
Plus, there's no 11 in the race. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not that.
What do you got, Pete?
Maybe if I had some booze in me, I'd pick the wrong horse. 8-9-3. It's all good.
You know what I did is I went one number over because 11 is race 11. That's why I just realized that he said that.
8-9.
Hopefully, I did the same thing with Paul. 8-9-3. My apologies, sir.
All good. No problem.
Wow. Okay. Hey, we're about the same. Cool. Pete,
there we go.
What do you like about the 8? Because I like the 8 also. Is it Hershey? I didn't hear
Hershey,
the announcement.
yes, from what I remember listening
right.
on the things. He's no 11, but he'll do. He'll have to do. This was one. I mean, Brilliant Birdie, who's been pretty hot, has beaten this. The only one who's beaten this horse, or the only one who's won the races that this horse has been in. The one I'm stretching out a bit, but I didn't think that would be an issue. Just looking at the breeding there, I thought the one thing. I give the horse a pass a little bit on that third last out. Was a little closer maybe to a really hot pace, and maybe it was just a little too close, and you could see it took the starch out of him late, so he didn't have as much of a kick. And Brilliant Birdie and Depiction came from the clouds, and so they won the race. I thought here the pace would be a little tamer, can sit close, can really work out a nice trip, and get something similar to what that first and second race would be. The only thing I don't love, I haven't loved watching the replays. I didn't love a bunch of the rides that Morales had given this horse. I wouldn't mind a little upgrade, but I think it can work out a solid enough. We can work out a solid enough trip with this horse.
Tell me more because I honestly didn't have a chance to watch any of the races.
There wasn't anything bad. It was just something where you know sometimes when you're watching and you're like, I wish you were a little more aggressive in that spot, or I wish you could sometimes see a little bit of indecisiveness. Where instead of saying, hey, I'm going to go here, I'm going to do something here. And maybe that's just me, untrained eye, when it comes to riding the horse. But there was just a couple things I didn't love. And I thought we can work out a better trip here against this field. Plus, he's still lightly raced. So I still just think there's going to be room for improvement.
So you don't want him sitting off of the 1 if the 1 decides to go?
I like that. Yeah, I don't mind that. Because I don't think the 1 is going to go and set. I don't imagine the 1 is going to do what the 1 did last time, but I guess you never know because he's done it before. So I'm hoping not too close. So I'm hoping. Yeah,
Hershey's been involved in some pretty fast paces. I'll tell you that. I mean,
yeah. Crazy. And my boy Prince has an affinity for fast paces. So I'm hoping. Yeah. If he goes that fast, just let him go. I think he's going to come back, my boy Prince. So
my feeling is I've had enough of the Laganoses of the world. My boy Prince was disappointing last time. I guess Axarba and Derby could improve again. I don't know. I'll talk about Dashman in a minute. Paul, you're going to go with my boy Prince, a creative pick, very likable horse. Maybe just went too fast last time. Do you want to see him on the lead?
Yes.
Just going slower, clearly.
Yeah, well, yeah, 44-4 going a mile is fairly ridiculous. And the first, I actually on the screen, yeah, no, it was 22-2. Yeah, yeah, I thought they were flying, and look I get it. He ran ninth, but he led to about the 16th pole. So and now he does have to stretch out, but we know how sometimes that works. Where the speed horse can carry it further. So, yeah, I mean, not unlike Pete's, it's a bit of a price play. I think he's going to be in that 5, 6, 7-1 range, and I don't see a ton of other speed here, and I just think that he may just lead them on a merry chase. Maybe he goes around in 46-4, 2 seconds slower, and keeps going. So I'm going to take a price play here.
Yeah, I think he's interesting. I have no knocks against him. I'm going to go with the 8. I just like he's lightly raced, and I don't have anything to add from Pete. I think we do very quickly talk about the 3 Dashman. I would have put this horse on top, but doesn't he want longer, guys? That's my only concern. Is he improving because the distance is getting longer, or is he just improving? Either way, I think he's a major player in this race. I just thought maybe he's better going longer, and I'm not sure it's going to set up for him. But size is no fool, guys. I think Dashman is probably the most likely winner. I shouldn't say that. I think the 8's the most likely winner, but Dashman's very logical also. And then you got Evade on the outside with Maker and Gaffleon, which is a hell of a combination, who was in that Bryan station, finished ahead of my boy Prince Ball. So you have to consider this horse a player, especially if Tyler can, save a little ground in the first turn, which is no sure thing. But, Tyler's got a decent amount of time to figure it out. So this horse is definitely a player also, you'd think.
Take a peek at that last race too, right? Oh, sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
Yeah, I watched it. I was going to talk about the last race.
Oh, okay.
I thought that Evade, I thought the way the race was won, I thought Evade actually had a better trip. I thought Hershey was right on top of that ridiculous pace that we've been talking about, where I thought Evade was further back and kind of flattened out in the stretch. So I want Hershey over Evade coming out of this race.
That's interesting because, I'm going to let it. So Evade was a little bit wide, though. You see,
I thought Evade
was wide
had a weird
and pulling,
trip.
and Hershey was actually saving ground. So on the first turn, I actually have to say Hershey got the much better trip, although I don't recall watching the rest of it. So
well, Evade gets
now
weird
Evade is further back, and here's Hershey here. I'll let it run
to
through.
the rail.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a weird one though, and then gets shut off a bit. I don't know. It was just a weird trip and a weird circumstance for Evade. So if you watch,
they're both on the rail. They're following each other here, actually.
Yeah, so Evade looks like the room's going to open. No, it doesn't.
Angle out.
Watch,
okay.
But then gets shut off here, and then dips again to the rail, and again maybe just didn't have enough late kick. But I just thought it was a weird trip. So I didn't.
Hershey sort of re-rallied once the horse is outside. Yeah, I don't know. I could go either way with that. I'm not sure how I feel. Who ran better? I don't think either one of them ran great.
No,
but Brilliant Birdie is definitely better than these horses. I think it's pretty fair to say. So, interesting race, guys. We'll see what happens in the Commonwealth. Let's go on to the last race, and then we have a Paul's rant of the week, and we'll close out the show. Race 11, maiden special, guys. Not the most talented maiden special, in my opinion. They're going a mile and a 16th. It is for the baby girls. It's a nice big purse. Field of 9. Moorline favorite is a horse I should like based on my profession. The number 3, Girl Math, Rudy Brisset, and Flavian Pratt. 2-1. Let's see who is going with the chalk. Not me, not Paul, not Pete. Oh, sorry, Pete is. My bad. I'm going 4-5-3. Paul's going 7-5-3. Pete's going 3-7-5. Paul, you're going with Golden Gamble for McPeak. He's got 2 in here. Golden Gamble 7-2, the number 7 Moorline. Brian Hernandez coming out of the Girl Math race.
Yeah, I just think, I think we've talked about this before. Kenny McPeak really pays very little mind to winning first time out. And I think that's a pretty good effort, that third. With second-time starters, maiden second-time starters in dirt routes, he's 18%. when you make them 2-year-olds, he goes up a tick to 19%. I don't want to pick on our friend Mr. Leperoux, but this is a big jockey upgrade to Brian Hernandez, who's Kenny's main man. Kenny's main man. So yeah, I think at 7-2, I would want to take this horse. I would expect this horse to move forward off that race.
A little bit wide into the first turn. Was 16-1, but McPeak doesn't always win first out, so I'm not sure that's really a negative. Cost 200,000 Lauban filly out of a Bernardini mare, so this horse definitely wants to go long for sure. I have her in the mix as a B. It's not in my top 3, but she can win. Pete, you're going to go with the favorite girl math. I just thought she was really disappointing last time. I know she got a 71 buyer, and on paper it looks okay, but I thought she got a pretty good trip. I thought Gaffleone angled out a little wider than he needed to unnecessarily.
Yeah.
But boy, wasn't she supposed to get the job done there? She lost to a horse that was 14-1 and barely beat Golden Gambler, who was 16-1. And the fourth place finisher, fifth place finisher were 46-1 and 21-1. That just, I don't like that, Pete. Obviously the horse can win. I'm going to try to beat her. You are not.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said, though. So I don't sit here and say like she's not any sort of single or anything. The funny thing is she has, from a time form standpoint, she has the top time form early pace. She's not necessarily a speed horse, but Pratt gets on, and Pratt has a good way of when it's a race that's a little bit devoid of speed, we're just putting his horse on the lead and just going. And it wouldn't shock me if he did that here, because she does have enough speed, at least compared to the rest of this field. So I was thinking of it that way. He's I agree with you last time. Maybe you solve that from race experience. Maybe you solve that, or maybe she just becomes one of those horses who runs second a lot, which you don't like when you keep betting as a favorite. I did have one crazy stat. Brissett, 52% wins, and this was out of, I think, 23 starts. 52% wins, 74% in the money in maiden special weights when his horse was in the money last out on the dirt in the past 2 years. And it's funny, if you look at it in 2024, if you brought up that stat, it's just a bunch of ones. For some reason, and I don't know why, it's a weird stat. I don't know why, but he's just super successful. Although he wasn't successful last race, it would have applied the last race too when they ran second. But I don't know. There was a lot to like.
This horse, guys, is this week's autumn and slap in the face. Look, last Saturday was a complete disaster for me. It was not good at Aqueduct. Guys went 1 for 9 and 1 for 10s win at like low odds. I'm not going to have those horses. Now, this horse is only a 2-year-old, and she's over 3. I like this one more than the 2 horses I just mentioned last week, but I'm just trying to beat these horses, guys. I don't want piece of horses that are going to be 8-5 that can win, but I don't love, and I can't use these horses as Bs because it costs too much money. It's either an A or a C. This is probably going to be a C for me. And if she wins, I hope to have her, but she's going to be the favorite in the pick 5 guy, in the payouts. I don't know. I'm going to go with Serafia, the number 4, 3-1. Guys, she did no running last time. I'm not going to try to make up something that was there. She was not good, but she was bet. I think this horse wants to go long. This is $1 million gun runner out of a Tappet mare. I have to think she's going to be better, guys, here for Gaffleone. She's going to have to be better because she was very unimpressive last time and needs to get faster. I think we're going to see it here. Again, this is more of faith in Steve Asmussen and the connections and the $1 million and blah, blah, blah. I just think, if she breaks well, she's going to be closer to the pace. And I think she's going to improve a lot, and she wants to go 2 turns. And Calamity, who the number 5, a firster for Cox, $200,000 buy. Let me get some stats here, guys. I got a whole bunch of them to rattle off, and then we'll go to Paul and get to his rant and move on.
Could I make a quick point on Serafia before you go?
Serafia,
I don't know if I'm sure you did watch it. She you lose sight of her because she was far behind. So she either changed leads very late or did not change at all. She was really, really laboring down the lane. So if they can get that straightened out, that might be one big positive. But she was really laboring without the lead switch.
She was also taking a lot of dirt, and the track was very sandy that day. There was a lot of kickback. She just never looked that comfortable. Watch the replay, make your own decision. This is a half to tenfold, guys. Remember tenfold, nice long distance horse who won 1.2 million. Asmussen's second time sprinter route the last 5 years is 19%, guys. Interestingly enough, though, 0 for 5 with Tyler in that situation, but Tyler's 20% overall with Steve, so I'm not concerned about that weird 0 for 5 stat. So I think the 4 is interesting. Do you want to mention something, Pete, and then I'll go to the 5. We'll move on.
I was just going to say, I actually had a note, which is more your angle a little bit. I thought I was the other way on the trip. I thought she just did a lot of stuff that was weird, like took back, looked a little green the way Paul mentioned, and then was in between horses. And I agree with you about taking the dirt, which, I just like, man, she didn't run that bad. If you look at almost everything went wrong that could go wrong. I did have a Asmussen 2 for 33 second time starting sprinter route at Churchill on dirt. So it all depends on how you look at it. But and Calamity, Cox and Saez, which is crazy, 45% wins, 72% in the money, going 8.5 and up on dirt together. That's just that one just jumped down like, man, that's just crazy. And it wasn't that small of a sample size. So I was just like, that one's crazy.
Guys, with 2-year-olds, he is 23% first time out in a route. That's crazy.
That's crazy, right?
That's a crazy good stat. And only 21% in sprints. Brad Cox is better going 2 turns first out than he is 1 turn with 2-year-olds. How about that, guys? That's a crazy. Sorry, with first timers, not just 2-year-olds. My bad. Calamity could be nice, guys. $200,000. I don't know. It's been working well. I'm just against girl math. If girl math wins, I hope to still have the ticket, guys, but it's going to lower the price a lot, and I'm trying to beat that horse.
That was a weird one. I had 4 A's, and all the other 5 were tosses for me when I went through. So I was like, it's such a weird race. I had nothing behind in any of them.
Yeah, I just I think it's an interesting sequence. I'm chalky in certain spots, not chalky in others. It is now time for our America's favorite pastime, Paul's rant of the week. Mr. Halloran, the floor is yours.
Well, I'm not going to be angry at anyone this week. I'm actually a little rejuvenated. Bob Kraft did not make the NFL Hall of Fame, and that's what he gets for pettily keeping Bill Parcells out of the Patriots Hall of Fame. So I'm good for him. He got what it's coming to him. Nothing to do with racing. I want to talk about guys who are really good for racing, Howard, and you might not hear these 3 in the same breath at all times, but I'm going to talk about our friend Aidan O'Brien, and then John Stewart and Mike Rapoli. And the only time you hear Stewart and Rapoli in the same sentence, they're usually at each other's throat. But, I mean, we'll start with Aidan, the obvious. And we know that, we know how great he is in Europe. But, the first week of November, we saw him, Howard, at Del Mar with his string for the Breeders' Cup. City of Troy didn't work out, unfortunately, for me and him. Last weekend, he ran a horse in Bahrain. He has Auguste Rodin, our friend from last year's Breeders' Cup, running in Japan. That is an unbelievable race. It's worth staying up for. I think it's around 1 a.m. Eastern on Sunday. And he's bringing, he's got a 3 or 4 going to Hong Kong for either, I think, the first weekend in December for the big races at Hong Kong. Mike Rapoli already has some horses in California with Mike McCarthy. He's shipping more in an attempt to help the racing situation out there. Obviously, they need horses. And John Stewart, who's done nothing but pour money into the game, he has taken the trip around the world, not only sending Goliath his horse, but he himself traveling over there. So I think, we complain about guys a lot. Well, I mean, I never complain about Aidan, but we complain about guys a lot. And I just think here's 3 examples of guys who are really trying to do the right thing for racing. And, Rapoli is either your cup of tea or he isn't, but I don't think he's sending horses out there just for the attention. He doesn't mind the attention, but I think he is genuinely trying to help. And, I think Stewart, again, is just putting his money way, way more than where his mouth is. And I just think all this, especially at this time of year, these are great developments for racing.
And then No Balls is running out there, guys, also, by the way. Ravelli's saying No Balls. I don't like him in that spot. I actually don't like Auguste Rodin in this spot. Auguste Rodin, I think it's a very tough spot.
Tough race.
It's the end of the year. We need to go to our best bets, guys. I apologize. Eduardo wants to know a pick five that we don't really give out pick fives anymore, Eduardo, but you know where you can find our pick five selections and thoughts. Where can we do that, Paul? Eduardo.
Pete, why don't you, Pete, give him the link, Pete.
Maybe the Power Picks tip sheet. That sounds like a place where you might see some pick fives. Yes, on the Power Picks tip sheet, you get ABC grids from the three of us, and you get for our main tracks. Whatever track we cover on Thursday, you get a grid from each of us. That includes our ABCs and our caveman tickets. And then for the other track, you'll get an ABC grid with a caveman from the man Howard himself. So if you want our pick fives, you got to pony up a little bit, unfortunately, now.
Yep, look below the video player, Eduardo, and we do it through Patreon. Guys, I almost forgot. Let's just very quickly, if you want to say anything, fine. If not, that's fine too. Paul's best bets. The best bets. Paul, you're going race 7. You're going number
C
7.
Vista.
C Vista, and then you're going a double C Vista into the 2 and 4. That's 2 Sharp and Pigali.
Correct.
Okay, there we go. Pete, let's see what Pete's doing. Oh, isn't that cute? They both have a win bet on C Vista in race 7, these freaking chalk eating weasels. And then race 9, the old tri-key box. Pete, you're playing this bet a lot more, or at least you're giving it out. I don't know if you're playing it. It's really not my damn business. But tri-key box in race 9, the
that
4.
Colorado Cruiser.
Nice. With the 13911. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Until the 5 beats up you and Paul.
I mean, well, yeah, and then it goes in the toilet. Like
you got to have a 5-4 in there, Paul, Pete, because that would pay a ton. It becomes 5-4.
Oh yeah, the 5 is the which one is that? Is that
risk it?
Yes,
risk it.
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes you just got to risk it, baby. Sometimes you just got to risk it, baby.
Maybe when I send out my picks on Saturday, I'll add the 5 so we can all be in lockstep together. But you guys better have the 4 if you play it. Then
I've got the 4s right now. I'm playing a reverse tri-key in that race with the 5 for sure in all spots. And I'm going to throw the 4 in there. Absolutely. Let's see here. My best bet. Where is it? Win bet on the race 7. No. I'm going to go to the Chaluki. And I'm going to play a little reverse tri-key with the 6, Positano Sunset. I'm going to do an Insanity Insurance small win bet just in case she wins. But mainly, I just think 2 Sharps can be too good. You could do an ice cold Dave Weaver Exacta 4-6 if you wanted to, but I'm going to try to get a little more value with some tries. I'll go 4 with 6 with 2, 3, 7, 8, and I'll go 4 with 2, 3, 7, 8 with 6. That's a very cheap, affordable ticket with Positano Sunset, the number 6 at 10-1 morning line in race 8. Try to get her somewhere in the mix.
Can I ask you on that? Would you, in your personal bets, would you put anything on the 6 on top, or you would just let it ride with underneath? You would.
So what I usually do is I'll either put a win bet on the 6 in case she wins, like 10 or 15 bucks to try to get 100 back ish, or I'll play a 50-cent try, Pete.
Okay.
6 with 2, 3, 4, 7, 8 with 2, 3, 4, 7, 8.
Gotcha.
And then I'll raise up the increments as we go lower into the try. So I'll play maybe a $1.50 try with her in second and maybe like a $3 try with her in third. The thinking there, she's more likely to get second or third than she is to win. And so even though it would pay less the further she's down, actually that's why it's like Dutching.
It's almost Dutching.
The further she is down the try, the less I'm going to get paid, right? So that's why I play more down there. Makes sense?
Yeah, so no, it does. And I know you do that, but I figured the listeners might like to hear that as well.
Yes, well, hopefully they gained a little bit of knowledge there from handicapping and math. Pete and Paul, it's a lot of fun. Look at this, an hour in and out, fantastic. Any quick thoughts to either one of you guys? Got Thanksgiving, big weekend coming up. By the way, next week, ladies and gentlemen, we are on Tuesday. I'm traveling to see my brother on the West Coast on Wednesday for Thanksgiving. So our show will be Tuesday night with Pete and Paul. I believe both of them will be there. And then Picks and Ponies and Pacific Horse Ponies will be at their regularly scheduled time Wednesday. We are covering, guys, big stake races on Thanksgiving at Churchill and the day after Thanksgiving with the Clark and some others. So if you're familiar with Churchill or Thanksgiving racing in general, you know Churchill puts on a great programs around Thanksgiving. So that's next week. Guys, any quick thoughts? Obviously, Monday night, big Derby reveal. Paul, I'll let you go first. Anything you want to mention?
Yeah, I'm going to try to get a little sleep between now and Monday, but it's going to be hard.
Okay, I hear you. Pete, final thoughts?
Yeah, I'll mention, go on the website. Paul, do you want to mention real quick we have on the website, Paul, a little snippet into your book on the website?
Oh yeah,
wanna
we'll
throw
talk.
that
Yeah,
out
I
there?
I put up a very basic website about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Mainly, Pete, because when people say to me that they have no idea, they say, "Oh, you're writing a book. What's it about?" I can now say, "Go to Cody'sWishBook.com."
Yeah,
So,
yes.
yeah, it's just about a 600-word overview of what the whole thing is about. 600-word summary of the 60,000-word tome that I'm nearing completion on.
So if you're looking for it if you can't remember that website, you go to ours. There's a tab called Publications, and you'll have some of the details and the link to that right next to our friend Matt Miller and his book and the details there.
Oh,
If you haven't, so they're
what a
next
ring
to
of
each other.
honor that is.
I mean, hopefully it's like having Dan Brown and James Patterson from a sales standpoint. So hopefully we can. That would be nice for both of you guys.
Very nice. Final tip for everyone: if you don't subscribe to our tip sheet, why not? The second part of the tip sheet Saturday is going to be covering Fairgrounds. It's opening weekend, by the way, at Fairgrounds. They're back down in Nolens, Louisiana. There is a horse in the last race, the highest winning earner, most earnings of a Louisiana bred right now, over 2 million. A cool horse named Free Like a Bird that you guys might know of that horse. A really nice older mare. She's 3 to 5 morning line, and I hate her in that race. She will get beat, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to cash the last race, it is the last race of the day. If you want to catch the last race at the Fairgrounds and really boost up your pick, your double, your pick 3, pick 4, do what I'm going to do and bet against the number 3, Free Like a Bird, who's 3 to 5 morning line and will probably be 2 to 5 or 1 to 5. If you want to know who do you like, Howard, or why don't you like her, Power Picks tip sheet. It's going to be there, and you'll find out. For my good friend Paul Howard and Pete Visco, wonderful co-host. This has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 381 of Picks and Ponies. Hope you enjoy the show. Crush your bets at Churchill Downs this Saturday. We'll see you Monday night for our 2025 Kentucky Derby reveal. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.